it's me Nat, and today I thought I'd do a video all about keeping pets with strict parents. Now I'm sure you know, a lot of you know that I have parents. I wouldn't say they're strict, I'd say they're fair, but sometimes not fair. And they're not the biggest animal lovers, so it's quite hard getting pets and accommodation and like sorting stuff out when your parents really not feeling it because they just don't love animals themselves. So obviously YouTube is amazing because you can show everyone your setups and like show off basically, because why not? It's all for a good cause, you know, you're helping other people, you're educating people, and I think that's absolutely amazing. But I do think sometimes if you are a younger child who just wants what's best for your animal but your parents are quite strict, it can be really hard to ask questions without getting like shouted at, or show a cage without it being exactly what everyone else thinks that you should have. And there's obviously always a reason for everything. I think if you really want to make a change but you're not allowed, or you just can't but you really want to learn and make things better for your pet, then there's no problem with that. And don't feel bad, you're not a bad owner if you have a small cage for your hamster and you really want a big one but you're not allowed, or you don't have the space or something. You're not a bad owner, and with time you can get there, don't worry. I've been in this situation so many times. So I'm not saying you should keep animals in small cages and whatnot, that's not what I'm about. But I'm just here to let everyone know that there are people like you out there, you're not the only one, and some parents can be a real pain in the butt when it comes to persuading things, and I can speak from experience. So today I headed over to Instagram hoping that you could all ask me some questions and hopefully I could help you and answer them. I was actually going to do this video with my mum because she said she would film a video with me, but I chickened out a bit because I don't know, I've never filmed with my mum, so that might be a bit weird. But if you would like to see like a parent edition with my mum, let me know below, or thumbs the video up, and I'll try and drag her on and get the courage to do it, because I think that would be really good from a parent's perspective, and she did say she would come on, so who knows. So a lot of you have actually asked me how I got Minstrel a friend. If you didn't know Minstrel's story, she used to be a single guinea pig by herself. I've got a video explaining her whole story, how I got her, and then also why she was alone. I think I do mention that. So I'll link all those videos below. But I managed to persuade my parents finally to get Minstrel a friend. One of the reasons actually was, the way I managed to convince them, was because my parents hated the cage I used to have for her indoors. It used to be like that huge cage, I'm sure you all remember. And my parents hated it, and it was kind of like a persuasion thing. I was like, well, if you let me get Minstrel a friend, I'll move them both outside and I'll get rid of that cage in that sitting room because I know you hate it. And Minstrel was an indoor guinea pig. If I was to get another one, they definitely wouldn't be allowed inside just because of like smell and space, and just my parents aren't animal lovers. They don't want a big guinea pig cage in their house when guests come around and whatnot. I don't know, they're a bit silly. So, well, I don't understand it personally, but yeah, they don't like the smell of like guinea pigs. It's not like guinea pigs smell. If you clean out guinea pigs, they don't smell, but they do have a smell. They're not like stinky, like they smell really bad. It's more the fact that they just have that hay smell or that shaving smell, depends what bedding you use, but hay does have a smell, and animals do have a smell. I think a lot of people say they don't smell. If you clean them out, they don't smell, but they do have a smell. I think they do. I think all animals have a specific smell. They don't come smell free. Whether it's the bedding they're on or the food that they're fed, it's got that smell in the room. It doesn't smell like a normal room. I've spread the smell a lot, but yeah, so they didn't want the smell, they didn't like the cage. And also I was going to university, so they didn't want another one in case I went and they were left with like two, or if they're older, if it's a young guinea pig, and basically they didn't want the cycle. You know how one guinea pig dies, the other one's depressed, so you get them a friend, and then that one dies, and it's like a cycle. You have to keep buying one because one will die eventually, and then the other one will be by itself, and it's not fair. So they didn't want that cycle. So I don't actually know how we got into the discussion one day, but I ended up being very upset about it, and I was saying to my parents how it got to the point where I thought I should rehome Minstrel because it wasn't fair on her that she was alone. And although I'd nagged on and on to my parents about how much she needed a friend, they never really, I think, listened to me until this day where I was being deadly serious. Like, I don't know what to do because she doesn't deserve to live alone, and I feel bad. I think actually the topic started when they were saying to me I could get another hamster if I wanted to, but I said no, I didn't, because Minstrel always came first, and got a bit upset about it because I always cry about everything. And they were like, we don't. And I was just like, well, you know, she needs a friend badly, and I don't like keeping her alone, and I don't think it's fair, so there's no way I could get a hamster. And I was like to my parents, what if I was to find an elderly guinea pig that she could get along with? And my mum actually suggested it, not me. She was like, well, maybe if you found an older guinea pig, we'll consider it. So that night, you know, Googling away, found a older guinea pig on a selling site, and that was Truffle, and she was like 5-6 years old. I don't actually know her age, but I'm guessing she's around that age. And I showed her to my parents, and they were like, okay. And they just let me. I mean, it was a real shock. I mean, I think part of the after all that time, and they were like, no, no, no. And that one day where I was like, I think I might have to rehome her because it's just not fair. And then I think my parents were like, oh, she's been really serious about this. And because they don't like her, I thought they would just be like, okay, great, I'm just gonna rehome her. But instead they were like, actually, if you want to get another guinea pig, you can, but they have to go outside. I think part of the reason they let me have her was because they were whinging about the cage that day, how much they hated it, and I was like, well, if I had another guinea pig, then I would move her outside. So I think that was part of the convincing process. And because I already had a shed outside, I was just like, I'll just bung them in the shed, you know, I don't have to buy any more, just a hutch and it'll be fine. So that was how I kind of convinced, and that went on for like 7 minutes probably. So I'm really sorry if I just bored you with that, but that's how I got Minstrel Friend. If you're struggling in the same situation, I mean, if your parents are really saying no, then perhaps you should rehome them. I know that sounds really horrible and hard, but I mean, guinea pigs are meant to be in pairs. I also told them actually that it was illegal in some countries, and I think my mum was a bit shocked by that, so that fact's always a good one. I think it's Sweden or Germany, I can't remember. One of them, you're not allowed guinea pigs unless they're in pairs, they have to be in pairs basically, so that was an interesting fact, and I think my mum kind of thought, oh my god, when I told her that. So yeah, sorry the sun's gone in, the light's changed, but oh well. So yeah, that's how I got Minstrel Friend. So yeah. Someone asked, how often should I do a full clean out when living with strict parents? So I'm guessing that's because of like a budget of bedding, and maybe your parents are like, you don't need to keep cleaning it out, because my parents do that a lot. They're like, you just cleaned them out, you need to clean them out again. I'm like, yep. I think a full clean out, maybe it's best not to do a full clean out. I know sometimes spot cleaning can be a pain because I'm not very good at it, I don't really do it. I just tend to like full clean, but I don't proper full clean. I don't spot clean, but I don't full clean. I just like pick out the bits that they've weed and pooed on, and then I just replace it all, so it ends up being like, I'd say a half clean. So I don't spot clean, but I don't full clean, but I just do it every 2 to 3 days. I just empty everything out that's dirty, so it's kind of like a spot clean. I don't know, I can't explain, but that's what I do, and it kind of works because I'm never wasting too much bedding. I'm not spot cleaning every day, so they see me cleaning them out every day, because otherwise they would be like, what are you doing? But if I do that, then that means I'm not getting rid of a load of bedding, but I just do it every 2 to 3 days, and I just like empty out what needs cleaning out, and there's not too much waste. But if you're worried about waste and like budget, then it's a good idea to get like a sieve or like a colander sort of thing, because then you can put the bedding in there. The bedding goes through, and all the poo and whatnot and like bits of food or whatever will stay to the top. So like a sieve's a really good idea. Or like a cat litter scoop, that's what I meant, not sieve. Oh, squeaky chair. The sieve's good for hamsters and their bathing sand, but like a cat litter thing, that's quite good for bedding and stuff. So if you're worried about waste and whatnot, use one of those, and then it'll like sieve out poo. It's quite clever, but I don't have one. I don't know why I don't have one. So yeah. How do you convince them to let you buy a bigger cage for them? I've had quite a lot of people ask me this as well, like hamster cage and whatnot. So the way I got bigger cages was very, very hard. With Misty, she used to be in a very small cage. My first hamster, Tess, had this tiny cage. You probably all know it, I'll stick a picture in. It's an awful cage, don't buy it. But I bought that, and I didn't know what I was doing basically, and I bought that, and then I realised that she needed a bigger cage, so I got her like a wire cage. I bought it online, and me being me thought, yeah, this will be fine, and it came and it was quite small. It was a Savic Cami, you've probably seen it on my videos way back. So that was quite small, and then I was trying to get her to buy another cage, and they wouldn't let me with Misty. They literally would not let me. They were like, no, you've just bought another one, you're not buying another one, it's wasting money, all that annoying stuff. And the only way Misty got a bigger cage actually was because of her bar chewing. She used to bar chew so much and so bad that she had a red like line across her nose. It came like a cut because she bar chewed so intensely. We tried everything to stop her bar chewing. She used to free range around my room for like 3 or 4 hours or even longer at night. So this was so bad, and don't ever do this. But when I first got hamsters, I used to let them run around my room while I was sleeping. I don't know what I thought. I don't know what was going through my head. but I used to actually let them run around my room while I was sleeping. I had one cat at the time. Again, crazy, don't do it, very dangerous. But it was with Tess actually, and I used to just let her run around my room all night, and I used to do it with Misty, and then I learned that I probably shouldn't do that, and I stopped doing that. But I used to let her run around loads, so my parents were like, okay, and they were starting to see that I was literally doing everything to stop her bar chewing, but it was making her like badly damaged on her nose. So then I finally managed to persuade them to get a zoo zone. I just did that, but I kept being like, look, I'm buying one, I'm saving up my money, so if you save up your own money and you buy it yourself, they can't say much. The way I got around it with, I got Misty a zoo zone 1, I had a zoo zone 2, no, I got a zoo zone 1 and then I got another zoo zone 2. That's because I found it online. I kept going on about how much of a bargain it was because I found it on eBay for cheap. So they let me buy that because it was like a tenner and they're usually like 50 quid. So that's quite good if you want your parents to buy you, or you want to buy a cage. Just try and find a really cheap second-hand one that's a good size. For Mickey, when I couldn't get him a bigger cage, I made him a bin cage. And my parents hated it. They absolutely hated it. I went out and bought the bin storage tubs without them knowing, and when they went out one day I cut the holes myself and they came back and they were like, Natalia, what the hell is this? I was like, I made Mickey a bigger cage because you wouldn't let me buy him a bigger cage. I know, very stubborn stubborn child. So I did that, and that annoyed my parents because they hated the cage, like with a passion. They're like, it's so ugly, and I was like, screw you, my hamster's happy. And then because of that, my parents were like, fine, just buy another cage, I don't want that thing in my house anymore. So that works. So if your parents don't let you buy another cage, go and make a bin cage. I made one, I was like 13, 14, 15, no idea. I think I was around 14 or 15, yeah, I managed to make one. So have a go at making a bin cage, because some parents might be like, that's great, you've made a cheap large cage, I don't care. Others will be like, I hate that thing. Oh, okay, we can buy a bigger one. Or it could go worse and they could just be like, get rid of it and make you go back to the old cage. But anyway, then it's worth a try because I tried it and it worked. That's how I got Mickey a bigger cage. So that worked. What else did I do? I kept showing them like websites and being like, this is the recommended size. Even though they hated all of that, I was just like, shove it in their face. Here's the recommended size. And also it helped when I went to like, I used to drop Misty off at a, oh, my camera's about to stop. I've been recording for 17 minutes, so I might have to break this up into different series. So if you like that, let me know below. But anyway, as I was saying, when we used to take Misty to a holiday home with a lady, and I would show her the cage, and the old cage, which was really bad, and she used to be like, yeah, you know, give me a bit of advice in front of my parents, and I was like, yeah, you hear that, parents? So that kind of worked, having other like authority figures. So if you can drag them to a rescue or something, I know it's quite hard if your parents really hate animals, but it worked for mine, and they both got bigger cages, so that worked. And for Minstrel, I've been very bad, been very naughty with cages, because I just used to order them. Once I got old enough to have a car that I could order online, I just started ordering them, and I got into big trouble and like threatened to take the cages back and whatnot, but they never actually did. So I was quite naughty. I used to just buy cages. I remember telling my parents when I got Minstrel's Bunny Business Run, bearing in mind you know the size of it, like it is huge. I ordered that and I was like, I've just bought a smallish cage. And my parents were like, okay, that's fine. Because the one she had at the moment, the one she had, her old one was a bit broken. So they were like, that's fine because you needed a secure cage because of the cats. And then it came and I got like, yeah, it didn't go down well. My parents were like, what the hell is this? And I was like, oh, that's the cage. So yeah, that didn't go down well and I got in a bit of trouble, but you know, it was worth it. So yeah, if you have to be a bit cheeky, I mean, you could try it. I mean, I kind of know my parents. Well, obviously I know my parents, but I know my parents quite well, so I know how to play it with them. I mean, if your parents aren't up to that sort of thing, then just work on being clever, but with mine, I just kind of was a bit cheeky, and I kind of got away with it. The next big load of questions that everyone seems to be asking me, like the same question, is how do you get parents to trust you with a pet? I mean, I've done a whole video on like convincing your parents for a pet, and it was in a lot of detail, so check that one below. I'm sure you've all seen it, probably not getting nowhere. That's why you're asking again. But trusting you with a pet, I think you have to show you're responsible with everything, with your stuff, with people, with like objects. I don't know, like if you have cats and dogs, if you don't, like your neighbours, maybe start like dog walking for the neighbourhood or something. You've just got to show you're responsible, and then they'll trust you, because obviously there's that worry that if you get bored they're going to have to deal with it. So if that's happened in the past, then you need to try and show your mum or dad or whoever's looking after you that that isn't the case anymore, and that you are responsible and that you can look after them and they won't be left looking after them, because that was always my parents' worry. So I just suggest research. As long as you know as much information as you can, then they can't really be worried that you don't know enough to look after that pet. That doesn't make much sense. But basically the way I got the hamster was I just researched loads, and I kept telling my parents about these facts and whatnot, and I got so irritated. And then whenever I went around someone's house and they had an animal, I'd just sit by it and be like, Mum. And she kind of got the hint, as the other people were like, you're gonna get your daughter a pet. So I think that kind of worked, I don't really know. But yeah, you've just got to show you're responsible and that you are trustworthy. So do that with everything, with your stuff. Like if you're going out and your mum says to text you or something, which I'm still bad at doing, just make sure you text them so that they know that you're responsible, they can trust you. Yeah, you get my gist. I don't know if that was any helpful, but anyway, I'm gonna wrap up the video there because I feel like I've talked a lot. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. And if you would like more of these type videos, then let me know below. I'm trying to be a bit more original and come up with some ideas, and seeing as I do have strict parents, then, well, not strict parents, fair parents. Little tip before we leave actually, better to have strict parents that don't just buy you animals, then have ones that just let you get as many animals as you want, and then they will end up neglected or taken away from you and whatnot. It's better to really work for your animals, and I honestly mean this because I've seen a lot of people that the parents just buy them pets and the pets end up getting just neglected. But with my parents, I really have to like bargain with them to get an animal. I'm like, please. And it's always worked out well. They've never had an issue. I've never been threatened to take a pet away. I've never been told off for not looking after the pet properly. Literally, my parents don't ever even go and visit the guinea pigs. Like, they have no worries. I look after them. They are my animals. I take complete care. I pay for them. I look after them. So yes, what I'm saying basically isn't a bad thing if your parents are stricter, because it just means that they don't want the animal to be left in a bad condition afterwards. So I'm gonna go, and I'll see you all next time. Bye. I don't know what that was about. Bye.